Do you ever lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering why your body just won't rest? After 70, those restless nights aren't just frustrating, they can quietly drain your memory, raise your blood pressure, and even steal your independence. But here's the part most seniors don't realize. Doctors have now pinpointed the exact bedtime window that protects the aging brain and heart. And it's earlier than you think. After 70, sleep changes in ways few people talk about. It's not only about how many hours you get, it's about when you close your eyes. Miss that window, and you may feel it the next morning in your energy, your focus, even your heart. But the good news? Shifting your bedtime by less than an hour can reset your body's rhythm, restore deeper rest, and give you mornings that feel lighter, clearer, and more your own again. And while every person is different, this doctor-recommended window could help many regain the independence they fear losing one. Melatonin decline, the broken dimmer switch. When you were younger, your body had a built-in rhythm. As the sun set, a gentle wave of melatonin washed over your brain. It was like a dimmer switch in a cozy living room, slowly lowering the lights, guiding you towards rest. But after 70, that dimmer doesn't work the same way. Melatonin levels can fall nearly tenfold compared to your teenage years. Imagine trying to fall asleep with a lamp that keeps flickering. You want darkness, but the room never gets fully dim. That's what many seniors feel. Tired eyes, a heavy body, but the mind stays restless. Scientists at the Mayo Clinic in 2024 tracked over 1,000 older adults. What they found was remarkable. Seniors who adjusted their bedtime to the 9 to 10 p.m. window reported 73% better sleep quality. Even more, their cardiovascular risk dropped by 45%, and memory scores improved by 32%. Not from new medications or fancy supplements, just from shifting when they closed their eyes. I remember Rosa, a 74-year-old grandmother. She always called herself a night owl. Midnight TV was her ritual, but mornings left her foggy and short-tempered, and she blamed age. When I asked her to start winding down earlier, lights dimmed at 8:30, TV off, phone tucked away, she chuckled, "Doctor, I've been a night owl for decades. I doubt that'll change," but she tried. 2 weeks later, she walked into my office brighter. "For the first time in years, I slept through till morning," she told me. She described how her mornings felt lighter, how her hands no longer trembled pouring coffee, how her laughter returned at the breakfast table with her grandkids. Sometimes, the smallest changes create the biggest ripples. And here's something worth reflecting on. Have you noticed your own bedtime creeping later over the years? Do you find yourself exhausted at night, but still scrolling, still pushing past your body's signals? You're not alone, and your body may simply be asking for an earlier rhythm. Melatonin is just the first key. Think of it as the flickering lantern that needs help to fully dim. But there's another hormone, just as powerful, that quietly shifts earlier with age. And if we ignore it, mornings can become heavier, blood pressure can rise, and the day never starts as fresh as it should. 2. Cortisol rhythm. Shift. Earlier bedtime, healthier heart. Now, melatonin sets the stage for sleep. But it's not the only hormone guiding the show. Another key player is cortisol, often called the stress hormone. But in truth, it's more like the body's floodlight. It wakes you up, sharpens alertness, and primes your blood pressure for the day ahead. Here's the twist. After age 65, that floodlight starts turning on and off about 2 hours earlier than it used to. The peak comes sooner, the dip arrives earlier. In other words, your body's natural clock is quietly nudging you toward an earlier bedtime and earlier morning rise, even if your habits haven't caught up yet. When seniors ignore that shift, the results show up quickly. You go to bed too late, cortisol is still pulsing, your blood pressure runs higher, and you wake feeling unrefreshed. It's not weakness, it's physiology. A UK Biobank study in 2024, analyzing nearly 61,000 participants, revealed that seniors with regular bedtimes, aligned to that earlier window, had a 20 to 48% lower risk of dying during the study period. Regularity was even more protective than the total sleep hours. Think about that. When you sleep can matter more than how long. Frank, a 71-year-old retired teacher, taught me this lesson firsthand. He had always prided himself on being a night reader, sitting up with mystery novels past midnight. But every morning, his blood pressure was climbing, despite medication. His daughter convinced him to track his sleep with a simple wrist device. What it showed was eye-opening. His cortisol was spiking earlier, while he was still awake, fighting against his own biology. We made one change: lights out by 9:30, 7 nights a week. Within a month, his morning readings dropped by 10 points, and he no longer woke groggy. He told me, "It feels like my mornings finally belong to me again." Pause for a moment. Does that sound familiar? Have you noticed mornings feeling heavier, or your energy slipping even after what seemed like enough hours in bed? If so, your body may be signaling that it wants an earlier rhythm. Tell me in the comments. Do you feel more like a night owl or an early bird these days? And remember, cortisol isn't your enemy. It's simply a light that now shines earlier. Align with it. And your heart, memory, and mornings all benefit. Ignore it, and the strain builds silently. But what most people don't realize is that even when they feel exhausted, another system in the brain can make deep, restorative sleep frustratingly out of reach. And that's where the real paradox begins. 3. Adenosine system changes. Tired but can't sleep. Now, here's where sleep gets tricky. You may have felt this yourself. Your body feels heavy, your eyes burn, you're desperate to lie down. And yet, once you're in bed, sleep just won't come. That frustrating paradox is not in your imagination. It's biology. The reason is something called adenosine. Think of adenosine as sleep pressure. Every hour you're awake, more adenosine builds up in your brain, gently pressing you toward rest. By nightfall, the pressure should be strong enough to pull you into deep sleep. But here's the catch. After 70, while the pressure builds higher than ever, your brain has 40% fewer adenosine receptors. It's like hundreds of people knocking on fewer doors. The message is there, loud and clear, but not enough doors are left to answer. The result? You feel exhausted, but you still toss and turn. A large-scale analysis from the China Health and Retirement Longitudinal Study, 2024, uncovered a surprising solution. Seniors who slept 6 to 8 hours at night and allowed themselves a short daytime nap, about 30 minutes, performed far better on memory and concentration tests. In fact, cognition scores improved with a beta value of 0.383, which is a significant boost. The nap wasn't laziness. It was a strategic way of balancing the broken adenosine system. I think of Evelyn, a 76-year-old widow who told me, "Doctor, I'm tired all the time, but my nights are restless." We tried something simple, a steady bedtime at 9:15, and a planned nap after lunch. Not long naps, just 20 minutes with her feet up, a blanket over her lap. Within 3 weeks, she said she could finish crossword puzzles again without giving up halfway. Her friends even teased her, saying she seemed sharper at card games. So if you've ever blamed yourself for being too tired, remember, it's not your fault. Your brain is working with fewer doors to answer those signals. By honoring an earlier bedtime and allowing a short nap, you're giving adenosine more chances to do its job. And yet, there's still another piece of this puzzle, because even with melatonin, cortisol, and adenosine accounted for, the very master clock of the body begins to lose its rhythm after 70. And if that clock isn't reset, everything else falls out of tune. 4. Circadian clock. Deterioration, the aging conductor. All of these pieces, melatonin, cortisol, adenosine, work together, but they're all following one leader, the circadian clock. At the very center of your brain sits the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. Think of it as the conductor of a great orchestra. In youth, it keeps perfect time. Every section of the body plays in rhythm. Heart, brain, hormones, digestion, all in sync. But after 70, that conductor begins to lose its sharpness. The SCN actually loses neurons, which means its timing cues grow weaker. Without a strong beat to follow, the orchestra starts drifting. Melatonin is late, cortisol plays too early, adenosine misses its cue, and you feel it in your body. Fragmented sleep, sudden wake-ups, groggy mornings. A recent Sleep Foundation circadian analysis, 2025, confirmed this. Seniors who anchored their rhythm with earlier bedtimes and consistent wake times showed dramatically higher sleep efficiency. Even more powerful was adding 20 minutes of morning light exposure, just stepping outside with the sunrise. That light acts like a tuning fork, snapping the body's clock back into rhythm. George, a 79-year-old retired engineer, came to me frustrated. I wake up at random hours, sometimes 2 a.m., sometimes 5. I never know. We started small, a steady 9 p.m. bedtime, and morning walks with his son. At first he resisted. "Doc, I've never been a morning person." But 2 weeks later, he reported something unexpected. "I actually wake up refreshed now. I don't need 3 cups of coffee to feel alive." His son noticed too, saying his dad seemed steadier on his feet and less irritable at family dinners. And here's where the stakes rise. When your circadian clock drifts, it doesn't just rob sleep. Studies link it to higher risks of heart disease, memory decline, even depression. This isn't just about rest. It's about protecting independence and the joy of clear mornings with family. So, think of your SCN as a wise but aging conductor. It still has the music, but it needs your help to keep the orchestra in time. Consistent bedtimes, steady wake times, and morning light are the baton that brings everything back together. But what most people don't realize is that even if they follow these steps, one stubborn myth can still undo all their progress. And it's a myth almost every senior believes. So, let's take a step back. We've seen how melatonin acts like a flickering dimmer, how cortisol shines its light earlier, how adenosine builds pressure but struggles to open doors, and how the circadian clock, the conductor, can lose its timing with age. Each piece by itself may feel small, but together they tell a powerful truth. After 70, when you sleep matters just as much as how much you sleep. This isn't about chasing perfection. It's about giving your body the rhythm it's quietly asking for. Because when you honor that rhythm, when you align your bedtime with the biology of aging, you don't just sleep better. You wake with clearer thoughts. You protect your heart. You steady your balance. You safeguard the independence that matters so deeply at this stage of life. I think of Rosa, Frank, Evelyn, and George. Their stories remind me that these changes aren't abstract. They're practical. They're lived. And the difference shows up in laughter at the breakfast table, steadier steps in the garden, sharper memories and conversations with family. These are the victories that make life feel like your own again. Now, let me ask you, what would an earlier bedtime give back to your mornings? More energy for a walk? More patience with your grandkids? Or maybe just the peace of opening your eyes and feeling rested? I'd love to hear your experience. Have you ever noticed your body asking for an earlier rhythm? Share your story in the comments. I read everyone. And if this message resonated with you, a simple like helps this channel reach more seniors who may need these reminders. If you haven't already, subscribe to join our growing community. Each week, I bring you science-backed, senior-focused guidance to help you age with strength and dignity. Most of all, remember this: sleep is not a luxury. It's the foundation. And protecting it is one of the greatest gifts you can give, not just to yourself, but to the people who love you.